everyone, I'm Lina and this video goes behind the scenes of setting up the Kickstarter to launch my book. So a little bit of background before I jump into it. My book is called Capsule Wardrobe. It's a collection of sewing patterns that can be mixed and matched together to create a historically inspired capsule wardrobe. So history bounding in book form, basically. The book itself includes the sewing patterns, all the instructions you'll need to make them, as well as guidance on how to style the pieces, mix and match them, and build your wardrobe. And the Kickstarter link to this is already down in the description in case it sounds like something you might be interested in. So Kickstarter, in case you're not aware, is a crowdfunding platform. In this instance, I'm using it to allow people to support and pre-order the book before it's completely finished. I would not be able to create this book without doing this because I'm self-publishing and books are expensive. So this allows me to know how much interest there is and pay for some of the huge upfront costs like actually printing the book. By launching the Kickstarter now, I'll also be able to raise money towards hiring some help and ultimately finish and get this book into your hands much more quickly. And one last disclaimer, this is a vlog. It's a behind the scenes look at the process that I went through, not a guide on how to set up a Kickstarter campaign. So without further ado, let's just get into it. I hope you can forgive the lighting. It's already dark out because it's winter. But today I've been looking a lot at the timeline of the project and figuring out how much time I'm going to need to finish the book and get everything done. So I do think that's a really important part of a project like this, where I'm essentially asking people to pre-order it before it's finished. I think it's really important that people have a clear idea up front about how long it's going to take until they have the thing in their hands. So the way that I've chosen to do this is to split the project, the book, into two separate sections. So the sewing patterns and the writing. In reality, there is, of course, quite a lot of overlap between the two. It being a sewing book, a lot of the content of the actual book is the instructions for the sewing patterns. But throughout this whole planning bit, I really just need to start splitting things down and simplifying them so that I'm able to get some numbers out of it. So you'll notice that with the pattern drafting steps that I share in a second as well. It is simplified, I'm aware it's simplified, but I need to simplify it to figure this out. So basically what I've done is I've listed my sewing patterns down the side of the page. I did go ahead and list all 7. So there's 5 which are included in the initial Kickstarter launch, and then there's 2 which are part of a stretch goal. So the idea is I'll only be doing those 2 if I raise enough money to hire some help, basically. But for this stage, again, I don't want to underestimate, so I'm just approaching it as if I'm going to be doing everything myself. So I've listed across the top of the page the steps to making a pattern. Again, this is a bit simplified as well, but what I've got written is pattern drafted, sample sewn, graded, pattern testing, testing results implemented, and final formatting. So this is my lists. I do have, so if I'm looking at just my 5 original patterns, I am halfway done. But I don't want to say that I'm 50% done and to then have the campaign do well and then there's 2 more patterns and then I'm not actually 50% done anymore. So with all 7 patterns, it works out to just over a third. So I'm going to say that I'm a third of the way done with the patterns. That gives me that little bit of extra wiggle room and just accounts for anything that might go wrong, basically. And my battery is empty. And we're back. So I have this 1/3 amount, which is great, but not necessarily super useful if someone's wanting to know when they're actually going to have a book in their hands. So the next step is to turn that into actual numbers. I time track my projects pretty thoroughly, so I know for a fact that 3 boxes on this list, 3 specific boxes from this list, took me a total of 72 hours. That's active working time, so that's not time that I was sitting at my desk thinking about doing it. That's time that I was sewing a seam or changing a line on a pattern, that sort of thing. So I can take this amount and I can work out an estimate for the rest based on it. So 3 of the boxes is about 7% of the total pattern work for the book. So based on that, the total hours for finishing all the patterns start to finish should be around 1,029 hours. That's a lot, but I've already done a third of it. So the amount remaining should be around about 686 hours. Again, that's not really a useful number to include in a Kickstarter campaign, but I can break that down by hours worked per week and get a bit of a more clear estimate. I did do a couple of different estimates for this, so I did do one which is 50 hours a week, which is what I've been doing the last few weeks, which comes out to around 3.5 months. But this is not sustainable for 3.5 months, so this is obviously not the estimate that I'll be going with for the Kickstarter. The one that I will be going with is 35 hours a week, which comes out to around 5 months. And that tracks because the 1/3 that I've finished so far, that took, in calendar months time, took around 2.5, 3-ish months. So I think that's a reasonable estimate, and I think it's an estimate that makes sense. And that's the one that I'll be putting in the Kickstarter for time that the patterns will take. Obviously, I still need to look at the writing and how much longer I think the writing will take, but it's a start. And again, this estimate is for all 7 patterns, 2 of which are actually a stretch goal. So if I'm doing all 7, theoretically that means that the campaign has raised enough money to allow me to hire some help with the patterns, and therefore it shouldn't actually take 5 months. But I did just want to err on the side of caution, and I'd rather overestimate than end up not getting it done. At this point, I have a fair amount of the writing and content of the campaign done, so it's not finished by any means, but I do know what sections I want to have in the campaign. I know what I want to talk about in all of them. Some of those, what I'm going to say is finalized, some still need a bit of work. That's mostly what I've been working on today so far. But now I think I'd actually like to switch gears and start looking a little bit more at the visual side of things. So basically at the moment it's just a Word document, it's just a big block of text, and that's obviously not the way that I want to present it on Kickstarter. It doesn't look good, it's not enticing, all of that. So I want to get started on the visuals. I want to do a photo shoot with all of the garments. I do have some pictures of some of them, but I'd like to do a video with everything together, and I'd like to have some pictures from that as well to just put throughout the Kickstarter. I'd also like to do some graphics, so to get away from that block of text, there's things like the timeline, which I was working on yesterday and today, which doesn't need to be a list, it can be a graphic. So I think what I'm going to start with is my color scheme. I have thought about my color scheme because obviously I've been sewing and making things for this for a little while now, and I wanted everything to match well together. So I have put some thought into this, but what I don't have is a digital version of this and colors that I can just pull from a digital list and implement and use in a graphic. So I think that's what I'd like to start with. And then once I've done that, I can maybe start on the timeline graphic and a couple of the others. I can start setting out the template for the different garments, the descriptions of them, for example. Even though I don't have my final pictures yet, I can just put a placeholder in there for now. And things like that, basically. So, yeah. So I did make an initial sort of color scheme and took that and imported it into the program that I'm using for all my layout stuff, and I then went in and tweaked all the colors a little bit and just tried to adjust them and get it just a little bit closer to what I was looking for. But I'm not super happy with it right now. I think it's a little too colorful. I think there's not enough neutrals in it, and I also think I'm quite possibly overthinking a little bit, because what I have is basically the color scheme for the book and for all the garments I have planned, but I don't have all of those garments sewn right now. There's only 5 garments that are sewn that are going to be in the videos and the pictures, so I think I should maybe go more towards the color scheme of what I already have, just so it makes a little bit more sense. I can possibly do like one accent color, but I have all sorts of yellow, orange, red, I have teal, I have greens, and the garments that I actually have right now are black, white, black and white, orange and yellow. So there's really only orange and yellow in there as far as colors, so I think maybe I should lean a little bit more in that direction for now. But basically I'm frustrated with this and annoyed with it, so I think I'm going to put this to the side. I'm going to go back to looking at music so that I can get the video and pictures done tomorrow morning, and I think that might actually be a better idea, because then I'll have some of the visuals that are going in the campaign and I can sort of build my color scheme around that. So having tried it, having thought about it, I'm changing my approach, and hopefully I can get a song picked out today and then get the video planned so I know what sort of shots I need for the promo video thing at the top of the page. And yeah, hopefully I can get that tomorrow, and then I could go back to color scheme. I've had a look at the different combinations of outfits that I can do for the video, well, and in general, but I'm planning the video, and I'm genuinely actually a little surprised by how many there are, which is nice. So I think I've picked out what I want to do for tomorrow. I think I've also picked out a song that I'd like to use, so I think that means I should be able to do the video and photos in the morning, which is good. And yeah, so making some progress. Alright, this is the best I can do, the widest shot I can get in the living room. This is what happens behind the scenes anytime you see a reveal or a photo shoot on my channel or Instagram or anything done against a plain wall. My living room is absolutely turned upside down. So if I go any further this way, I've got a curtain which doesn't move any further. And if I go any further this way, there's a sofa which I can't move any further without blocking the door, so I can't get out. There is a lamp there, I might move that, but I think I'm going to keep it somewhere over there for lighting. So yep, this is the best I can do, but I think it'll be alright. I can fit mostly my whole self in it. Yeah, so I'm going to go do my hair, do something with my hair, I don't actually know what yet, and then I can start taking pictures and doing the video. So I couldn't get my shirtwaist buttoned up, and it turns out that that's because I hadn't cut open the top button. So there's that. Okay, so it's starting to get dark now, though it looks absolutely fine in this shot, but the sun has gone below the horizon, so basically any minute it's just going to start getting really dark and be too dark to film. Unfortunately, I did not get everything that I wanted filmed, but I did do a good chunk of it, so I think with the rest of my evening I'll just start having a look at that, start editing it hopefully, and sort of see what's still missing and what potentially could be done tomorrow. Hello! It is day 2 of photo shoot, hopefully the last day of photo shoot. Today for video footage I'm focusing on landscape. Most of what I did yesterday was portrait. Yeah, I don't need full outfits necessarily because I did film that yesterday, but I would like some different angles. I'd like some close-ups and like transition footage between the different outfits. And for the photos, basically the same thing. So I did pull a full set of outfit photos from the footage yesterday, so I don't need to do that again, but I would like just some different angles and some different photos just to mix in throughout, as well as a clear photo of each garment. I need that still as well. So my first step is to redo my hair and my makeup and just hopefully get it looking passably similar to yesterday. And that's it for the second set of photos and videos. I am tired now. That was exhausting. So I do have a lot now. I think it should probably be enough. I still don't feel like I really have everything that I wanted. I do wish I'd gotten more seated photos and videos, where I was sitting down. I just stalled a lot for some reason with the camera and the setup and the everything, and moments like this where I really wish that I wasn't filming it and modeling it and everything by myself, because that would have been a lot easier if I was taking pictures of someone else. But it is what it is. I think I just need to make do with what I have, because I don't think it would be beneficial at this point, timeline wise, to spend another day doing pictures, and I don't want to do another day doing pictures because I'm so tired and I'm sick of it. But yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say. I'm sure that's fine. Otherwise I'll update you again later. So I have my video footage, I have photos, I have some of the graphics done, and I have basically the whole campaign written and planned out. So even the things that are still missing, some of the graphics, I know what I want them to look like. So the main thing that's really still missing at this point, before I can upload everything to Kickstarter and submit it for approval, is to finalize my timeline and my budget. So the problem with these is they're both really interconnected with each other, and they don't happen inside a vacuum. So what I mean by that, for example, is with the patterns, I had worked out that it was going to take me about 5 months to finish the patterns, but that's not actually going to be the next 5 months because I have a bridal commission. I'm not taking on new commissions at this point, but this is one that's been postponed since 2019. So that's going to be getting made within the next few months. So that means that the patterns are not going to be done 5 months from now, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the sort of thing that I've been trying to keep in mind, as well as Kickstarter itself and the way that their platform works. So they suggest that you use the lowest amount possible as your goal for the campaign, which does make sense. That's the way their algorithm works. So the sooner you get funded, the more likely it is to get promoted on their site, as well as obviously people who are thinking about supporting you. It is a confidence thing. They have more confidence in supporting you if they see that the project is definitely going to happen because it's already fully funded. It makes sense, but there seems to be a weird attitude around people charging for their time, and somehow no one seems to have that in their budget breakdown, which I don't understand. I do realize that there might be some projects where it's less relevant, but if you're bringing a project to life that's going to take like a year of full-time work, you need to, and I need to, pay for rent, bills, buy food to eat, and that seems to just not be counted anywhere. So I genuinely do not know how other people have approached this and how other people have dealt with it. So I can only tell you what I have done. So I've put the goal as low as possible, which basically just covers my expenses. So things like the printing costs for the book, boxes for the books, having some of the patterns graded, having the book proofread, things like that. So it's really only covering that. And what I've done to sort of account for that is I've extended my timeline. So that's going on the assumption that if I only raise the minimum to cover the expenses for the book, I'm going to need to get money for myself to exist elsewhere. So that was my reasoning. That's the way that I've approached it. I do plan on being upfront in the campaign itself to say that if it raises more, I do hope to be able to do it faster. And that's what the stretch goals are for as well, right? So that was my approach. That's what I did. I don't have the final numbers in front of me, but I will just put them up on the screen. I'll put a slide up for you. Alright, I am going to start uploading things to Kickstarter and setting up the project. I do still have a couple little bits and pieces, some of the diagrams to finish off, but I'd like to get this submitted for approval today, so I figured I might as well have a look and just start, see what the back-end creator side of the platform even looks like, and just start getting some of the stuff onto it. So I'm very clearly going to start with this lovely button that says Start a Project. It's actually the next day, which is fine. It just took a little bit of time to get everything uploaded to the site and formatted and just getting it to all look the way that I wanted. But it's all ready to go now, which means I can send it for approval by Kickstarter. They just look over all of them to make sure that I'm not breaking any rules or anything, and that should take 1 to 3 days, I think, from the time that I submit this. So all that's left to do now is press the button and wait. Also, I forgot to mention, I actually put together 2 short little videos about some of my previous projects just to include in the Kickstarter campaign itself, but they're uploaded here on YouTube. They're unlisted just because they're really short and not my usual content, but I will link both of them down in the description in case you want to have a look at them. One of them is a preview, I guess, of a video that's not actually edited yet, which is the Crimson Peak inspired belt kits that I did with Cuddle and Bone last year. So there's a short video about that. Long video at some point, but short one for now. Anyway, so I've submitted the thing now, and all that's left to do is wait, which is really weird after weeks and weeks of non-stop sewing and working and stressing. But yeah, so hopefully I'll know by the end of the week. Hello! Do you recognize this setup from my intro? Because I just finished filming my intro. So Kickstarter has approved the campaign, which means I can go live with it whenever I want, which is very exciting. So I've chosen Sunday the 6th of February, which is 1 day after this video goes up. I will be doing a couple of early bird deals on the Kickstarter campaign, so that's a cheaper price for the book for the first couple of people who order one. So if you are interested in the book and you are interested in a cheaper price, I would recommend signing up through Kickstarter to be notified when the campaign goes live so that you are one of the first ones there. Or you can just turn on notifications here on YouTube, because I'll be posting that video that you watched me make, so YouTube notifications will do the same thing. Yeah, so I wanted to say thank you all for watching and being so supportive and for being so excited about this book. I really couldn't have done it without you, so thank you, and I'll see you next time.